Good morning and welcome to Hardin Life Live. We are the Hardins and we are a family of counselors and coaches who are committed to bringing you some tips on how to live your best life, both from a biblical and therapeutic perspective. So we are taking this month to focus on our youth, just all four-dimensionally, focusing on spiritually last week, focusing this week on physically, and then we'll be hitting emotional and relational and social in the coming weeks. So stay with us. But we had an incredible blog, and
Rebecca Loper, who is she's developed a website, but I don't know, it's called The Crunchy Christian, which I love. And Rebecca has she honestly found her own health journey and recognized the importance of nutrition for overall health. And when she saw her own health compromised, all of a sudden she had the wake-up call, wait a minute, This is happening for my kids.
Yes.
And she got on it.
Yes, and we wish that she was with us, but she and her family are on vacation, so we wish them well. We're trying to hold down the fort, but regardless, definitely check her blog out at hardinlife.com. But we want to talk, if we can, a little bit. Yes, because Mom, when we were growing up, I know that you put a big emphasis on nutrition. And I remember we had a neighborhood co-op.
We did. We actually did. We didn't have the Whole Food stores in our neighborhood.
No.
And we had a once a month 18-wheeler pull into the gas station, and we all had to run up there and buy our organic foods. And I too, like Rebecca, had my own health crisis as a young mom, honestly. And it really influenced me. And I think also, I always understood that as believers, we are to be good stewards of whatever we're entrusted with. And yet, we really don't think sometimes about our body being one of those things we're entrusted with.
Totally.
And so we sort of take advantage of our body. We run it in the ground and we expect it to keep going. And it'd be like pouring water in our gas tank. How would we think that'd get us anywhere?
Yeah.
And I think Rebecca just really brought home that children have got to have healthy foods coming into their bodies, because not only do they need fuel to live, they've actually got to have the proper nutrition for a developing brain, body, and sadly, we don't have a lot of real foods. And I thought that was a cool point. She said, feed your kid real foods, and those are foods that your great-grandmother would have eaten. In other words, it's out of the dirt. It's caught out of the water. If you turn over a box and you can't pronounce half of it, it's not real.
I love that. One of the things she said are veggie straws are not veggies. Juice boxes are not fruit. The whole foods, meaning that every part of the vegetable and fruit is imperative to eat for proper digestion and nutrition absorption. And so when you take out all of the skins and the fibers of the fruit in the juice box, you're just getting pure sugar.
Right. And let's talk about sugar.
Okay.
The world runs on sugar. And gang, let me just state the obvious. It's more addictive than cocaine. And it equally probably does the same kind of damage over time, because it inflames our gut, and
which inflames our brain.
And all disease actually originates in your gut, all cancers, all everything. And we start these kids early on this. And you've got to watch things like fruit. Back in the old days, seasonal fruit was all you had access to.
Right.
You didn't have a plethora of fruit all year long. You ate it seasonally. Even so, when people overdo fruit, they don't recognize they too are overdoing the sugar content in their diet.
Yeah. Well, and it's creating sugar dependent bodies. And that's they're learning how to eat for their body now, and that's going to set them up for the rest of their life. And I worked in a community center when I was first getting my hours, and we would see clients from all ages. And when kids would come in, there was actually a term, and I can't remember the professional term, but when kids eat sugar, which it's way easier because you don't put up a fight, you don't have to put up a fight with your kids,
Yes.
and it's so accessible and it's cheap.
Yeah.
And so it's not surprising that we're all addicted to sugar.
Right.
But what it does is when you have sugar in your system and it sits there because you have a slow processing system because
It's
you've been
fermenting,
eating
isn't it?
It's fermenting, and we
Oh
would
my
see these
gosh.
kids really take on almost a drunken kind of state.
That's right. It's
Yeah.
a fermented body.
Yeah.
And, if you have rosacea, several of those things,
Eczema, skin issues, they're all really connected to our
Sugar-driven.
diet.
Yeah.
Sugar, gluten, and
Yes.
dairy. And we know that though they're so easy, our bodies love to crave them because they're that quick energy, but they stay in our body way too long and create that fermentation that over time creates that drunken, it's low focus, low energy, there's the crash, they don't sleep well. So really, if you want more behaved kids and
Yes.
more energetic long-term kids, you've got to focus on their
Get the
diet.
right nutrition.
Yeah.
You've got to get it in their bodies. And, Rebecca identified with the young mom
Oh,
because we're overwhelmed. We have 900 soccer games, and it's like, how do I, number one, what do I make? How do I make it? Fast, easy. Number two, how do I talk them into eating it when all their friends are eating the junk?
yeah.
And she gives some amazing creative tips in her blog that are really accessible. She also gave some links
Yeah.
of great recipes, quick things. But she started by just saying you've got to determine to do it. You've got to have a plan, and you've got to sort of pre-plan, and that sets you up for success.
Yeah. And
yeah.
including them in the process. I love the idea that you can go through healthy recipes with your kid and showing them pictures and what looks appetizing to them, and then include them in the process of cooking with you so that they get to be a part of putting that food on their plate. They're much more likely to eat it.
They really are. I know I worked with y'all.
It totally did. And also just exposing them to new foods. It actually is great for our gut microbiome to get a different vegetable every week. I follow a nutritionist that she says I stretch myself when I go through the grocery store, and if I haven't eaten a certain vegetable, I'll say, well, I'll attempt to cook this, or I'll add it to the menu for this week because it's actually producing better gut bacteria to break down other foods long term. So
well, and I think
keeping
what
the
is
variety.
also positive about that variety is, I have so many moms say, but my child hates it, they won't eat it. And I remember when y'all were growing up.
yeah, not an excuse.
Exactly. I would go, oh, don't worry, your taste buds change every 2 weeks. And so we need to retry it, re-enter it.
Yeah, you're
And-
like, you may not like it right now, but take a couple bites and then we'll try it again in 2
Yeah.
weeks.
And again, if you sort of take little basic guidelines like that and stick to them, you are going to set your child up for, number one, creating a taste for nutritional food, but not being afraid of it.
Yeah.
The big overwhelm is the fact that nobody else but them is doing it.
Right. But your kids are going to be set up long term to live long, healthy lives
Yes.
free of disease if you start instilling these great patterns and habits now. So Rebecca is incredible at breaking it down into such practical steps
Yes.
to where it doesn't overwhelm. So I really encourage you to read her blog at hardinlife.com and stay tuned for the next couple weeks when we tackle the other circles of your life.